Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are getting up and feeling well out there this morning and having a great weekend out there so far. Got you an update, as you guys know, what's going on weather-wise for today. We'll talk a little bit about this storm system that's plaguing the southeast this morning, but we'll continue to kind of head on off. And by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, it'll be over with. It's going to be a lot of disappointed people in the mountains for sure. I woke up, was looking at the observations, and it looks like, when we were talking a couple days ago about all those pinks and oranges showing up with these model runs that even I was saying, I was questioning, but it looks like it kind of came to friction as I'm seeing like the higher elevation areas, like 4,000 or 5,000 feet up, is dealing with a lot of freezing rain overnight, and they're dealing with it this morning. So, we'll talk a little bit on that, but I still think as this upper level low portion of this storm system pulls through some of these areas that just been dealing with flat out rain, disappointing rain if you're a winter weather fan, we'll switch to a period of snow a little bit later this morning, maybe early this afternoon, and maybe you can get a little bit of snow at least falling. Maybe it'll accumulate on something, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the rest of the country, and then we'll switch gears and give you some updated information on what potentially could happen as we're getting a little bit later this week for Wednesday and then Thursday, as we're expecting a powerful storm system, maybe even two, that will fly across the middle of the country. It's going to create severe weather and a lot of winter weather for certain areas further north of the low. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I'm getting really close to 40K, guys. So I didn't really set a yearly goal for myself this year. I did kind of last year, and I hit it within, I think, a few months into the year, just due to the fact that winter was so active last year compared to this year. But not going to set any goals, just going to roll with it, guys. As I get older, I set more just daily goals rather than like yearly goals. I think I set a yearly goal just like anybody does, but I don't get tunnel visioned on that. I focus in day to day. Seems like as I get older, I do that more and more. But anyways, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Still certainly asking for prayers. I do my soccer thing Tuesday. I'm going to be the head coach of a bunch of 7- and 8-year-olds. Really looking forward to it, but a little anxious for it just for the first practice, and just definitely praying for confidence, and then just I feel like I'm a good leader, but just praying that I do a really good job, and certainly set the best example for these kids, which I feel like I will. I'm always great with kids. I feel like I am. So, but anyways, let's get rolling this morning. Let's talk about a couple things. We'll look at what's going on, advisories, watches, things like that. A lot of wind advisories, high wind warnings, high wind watches out here out west. And that's just because we have a couple systems that's about to swing through, and it's going to push a lot of winds in these areas out here. You still got wind advisories here in South Georgia, a few counties in Southeast Alabama, and a good chunk of Florida. And that's just due to the fact that the system has that negative tilt to it in the Southeast this morning. It looks pretty wild on water vapor loop. I'll show it to you here in a little bit. Well, not a little bit, but a little bit deeper into this video. I'm saying a little bit like here in the next hour or so. But still got winter weather advisories. Guys, I think some of these winter storm warnings were actually dropped to advisories. It just hasn't updated on this map yet, but I think some of these counties in pink has actually dropped to advisories. But regardless, I think there's going to be a last punch of snow for certain areas that have just seen rain or sleet all night. I think a lot of people got their hopes a little up when they started seeing a lot of sleet. When maybe they weren't supposed to see sleet. A lot of times that doesn't mean anything, guys, because right when you meet that wet bulb, and definitely your wet bulb's like 36, 37 degrees, then all of a sudden it probably just goes back to a cold rain. It's weird the way the atmosphere works. Sometimes it's good for winter weather fans, sometimes it's bad. But regardless, this morning, this is what we're seeing. We'll actually look at the radar right now. This is that little spin that we talked about. I would say 2 or 3 days ago, I was thinking maybe this spin could deliver a surprise for certain areas around the 85 corridor. And guys, I still think that somewhere around this area right into here could mix briefly this afternoon. But in fact, you look at mixed rain and snow just outside of Huntsville, and I don't have the radar up out of Huntsville right now, but there's probably a lot more moisture showing up right here that you can't see because this is the radar out of Atlanta. But here you go. I didn't see that when I first was pulling this up. So you got to mix. So if you're in North Alabama, certainly go outside and check. It's going to be hard to see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens in the Cumberland Plateau maybe a little bit later this morning. But, if I look at the radar out of Huntsville, see what's going on over here, how much moisture we still got left to deal with. And there's a lot of intense moisture, guys. And I was expecting this, but the thing that we were trying to see what was going to happen is any of this going to mix with any kind of winter weather? And it could. And you got this little report, like I said, of mixed rain and snow just north of Huntsville. So we'll see what happens as this pulls through this area a little bit later today or this morning. This area right here will eventually kind of make its way through the mountains. So this could deliver a burst of snow for certain areas, maybe right into here a little bit later. It certainly could, and we'll watch that. I think that if we're going to see any crazy videos of some heavy snow, it's going to be from this precipitation right here that you're seeing actually on radar too. So let's get this going again and see how this can look. The HRRR model isn't going to show a lot of blue, I can tell you that. But like I said, here in the next couple hours, really, look, the rain's finally switching to snow, maybe even Asheville, Waynesville. You'll see a period of snow, some of these higher elevations, but you're still going to struggle in the lower elevations. But, this is around lunchtime today, here in the next few hours. You switch to a period of snow right here. We'll see how much snow can fall in a relatively short amount of time. And we'll keep this going. And, this could end as a period of heavier snow in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. Maybe even Virginia too, and we'll see what happens with this. And as this pulls off, we're getting into 7, 8 p.m. Higher elevations of Western Virginia certainly can mix with some heavier snow, probably 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 feet up. Bursts of snow might coat everything, and then this system heads off, and by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, it's gone. It's gone. So, as far as snowfall, guys, nothing's really changed. Nothing has. We're going to see additional rain today, but for areas like, if I was back this up, for areas down here like in the Carolinas and Georgia, it's going to be just kind of another wave of rain that moves through a little later today. But you're not going to really, the washout occurred for a lot of people in my neck of the woods. It really started raining yesterday afternoon, and it just absolutely poured all night. And we're waking up this morning, and it's not drying out, but it's not raining, I tell you that. So, and most of it all fell in a good part of the day, at least in my neck of the woods. But for what's going on up here in the Northeast, this rain will make it to Washington, D.C. here in a couple hours. We'll overspread the Delmarva, get as far north as maybe the Maryland-Pennsylvania state line, maybe southern New Jersey, and might try to flirt with the coastline of Long Island overnight tonight, but that's the cutoff. And I know a lot of people are wondering, well, Mitch, what if this was to get a little bit further north? I don't think that means you would have saw snow. There's literally no cold air source, even for the Northeast. So if you're those I-95 corridor people who are thinking, man, what if this inches a little bit further north? Well, I don't think you're going to see snow. And that's unfortunate considering the fact that we're still in like mid to early February. But, I would say mid-February now, but, it would seem like you would be cold enough for snow, but you're not. Out here in the south central U.S., not going to stay on this long, nothing. But enjoy today, days like today, because some active weather is coming for you folks in the south central U.S., and some active weather is coming for you folks in the north central U.S. I think Minnesota, cities like Minneapolis, Omaha could certainly be in for a winter storm sometime later this week. But here we go. Today, it's really quiet. There's not much to speak on, not a whole lot going on at all. Temperatures. This really shows the lack of cold air and how this system, these are highs today, how this system is literally creating its own cold air. And as you can tell, you got to get pretty high up to be cold enough for snow. So it's going to be a miserably cold day for areas of the southeast and mid-Atlantic, but just not cold enough for snow. So it is what it is. I definitely, I know I didn't do the greatest job trying to forecast this. I made a couple calls on this system early on, but I was pretty confident that this was going to do something. But that's just how it is. You miss some, you get some right, but I feel like the National Weather Service did a great job staying conservative, which we did mention that they were probably going to do that the entire time, regardless of what models showed. But I think they did an excellent job of staying conservative with this system, a great job. So, a lot of people, will leave comments, and guys, it makes me feel awesome. It doesn't. It really does. A lot of people will leave comments like, I follow you over the locals and stuff like that. I'll still always recommend you following the locals. And meteorologists, I know, trust me, I'm going to get it wrong just as much as they are. So, it just happens. At the end of the day, all we can look at is this model guidance and what's going on in the actual atmosphere. And then you take your shots at what you might think it is compared to model guidance and, see what happens here. But for anybody who did a mountain trip this weekend based off my word and, you're going to be disappointed, I do apologize. I know that stinks. It really does. But hopefully you see something this afternoon. It was always going to be a Sunday thing, maybe overnight last night into a Sunday thing. So hopefully you guys see some pretty snow flying around out there this afternoon. But water vapor loop, and we're going to lead this into the next segment. Look at this. This is the system right now that we've been talking about. It looks beautiful in water vapor. It looks kind of scary almost, but that is a big-time swirl that's gotten that negative tilt to it. If this had a negative tilt to it and it was a little bit further north, we'd be talking about a severe weather event across areas of the southeast. But that was more so for Florida yesterday, and luckily it did not materialize into any kind of widespread tornadoes or anything. This is our next system, but this system isn't this one right here that, looks pretty eye-catching on what you're seeing here. This really isn't the system that's going to create all that nasty severe weather. This is kind of the first out of two that's going to roll through, and this is going to create some weather though. So we'll talk about that. This is going to fly through and go up here like this, and it's going to create some snow, maybe some severe weather, but let's talk about it. Here we go. Going forward, here's the first system right here. It's a pretty powerful low pressure. It's a as it's coming off the Rockies, Tuesday morning, maybe a sub 990 millibar low pressure, it's pretty powerful on land. So this rolls through. There's not a lot of cold air around, so this is all rain for Minneapolis and Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. But then as it pulls through, some cold air is moving down as a big-time upper trough starts to dig into here and starts to bring a lot of cold air. So you might switch from rain to snow in western sections of Minnesota as we're getting into late Tuesday into Wednesday morning. And then this pulls through, and this low pressure digs deeper into Texas, deeper into the south central U.S. And this is the one that's going to create issues. Here's the low pressure. All this green you see right here, this is just a global model. But this green you see here, this is for this is for Wednesday evening. This could be severe thunderstorms. And of course, we're not going to see the full evolution, the storm mode, until we get into these short range model guides. That's why when we're talking severe weather, it's very difficult to change up what we talk about from one video to the other in that 3 to 7 day range. Once you get under 3 days, you start to get into these mesoscale models, these cams. Then we can really start to see what is going to happen, how bad or how not so bad is this going to be. But this continues to fire up. I think we'll be dealing with severe thunderstorms all night, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Low pressure starts to shoot across the Midwest and areas of the Mississippi Valley. This will be a heavy corridor of snow that I think is going to start off, slam Denver Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, eastern Colorado. This will move into probably western areas of Kansas, central Kansas potentially. I think it'll be a pretty big snow event for a lot of Nebraska, especially eastern Nebraska. This will probably move through areas of western Iowa, and this could potentially be a big snow event for you folks in Minneapolis and southern southeast areas of Minnesota. But could definitely be different because the Euro is a little bit further south. It's a little bit different. The low pressure goes a little bit more south, therefore the winter weather is a little bit more southeast. So we'll stop it here. I think there's going to be bad storms right into this area. There's a huge area highlighted by the Storm Prediction Center, one of the biggest I've ever seen at day 5, that extends from the deep south all the way up into the Ohio Valley. But low pressure up here, there's going to be a ripping low-level jet. But does this trough slow down at all? That's a big question. And, it depends on a lot how this low pressure ejects across the middle of the country. It really does. There's a lot going on here, but this is going to be a powerful winter storm, and it's going to just be a powerful storm system in general that's going to bring some nasty, severe weather for anywhere from Texas all the way through the south, and maybe even as we get into Friday, there could be some severe weather for the southeast. We'll see what happens there, but I think you'll be lacking forcing. Then some cold air is going to push through for the weekend again. I think this will be the 3rd or 4th weekend in a row where we have a cold weekend, which hasn't been that cold this weekend, but it seems like we always have something that cools us back down on the weekends. But this flies through. A look at the Euro, And we'll focus just on the central U.S. and ignore all these L's you see here. It's just feedback here. But this is really the L that you watch right here. This flies through Tuesday into Wednesday, moves through. We'll see what it does as far as snowfall for the northern areas of the country. Does it create any severe weather? I think it's going to be lacking some ingredients here. But here comes our big one right here. Low pressure starts to develop, flies across Oklahoma. At the same time, you probably have severe weather ongoing right into this area down here. I'm talking about eastern Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, somewhere in here. I think Arkansas might be a big state. But at the same time, on the northwest side of this low, guys, you have an ongoing winter storm. Denver, I think you're going to get hit pretty good with this sometime Wednesday or overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. This could be a big winter storm, snowstorm for areas of Nebraska, maybe even far western Oklahoma. Like I said, the Euro digs this low pressure a little bit further south. So this does limit the extension of a warm sector further north, but at the same time brings more kinematics further south. So yeah, I don't definitely don't necessarily mean it's a good thing or a bad thing. So we'll talk about more on that as we get closer, but I'm just trying to get you an idea of the evolution of the storm. But as you can tell, the snow is further south on this. It's much further south, and there's a thinner layer of snow. This kind of jets right through, back it up. It goes through areas of Kansas, probably, late Wednesday into overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, starts to move. This actually, the heaviest snow actually misses Omaha to the south on this. This brings a little heavy snow into northwest Missouri. This blasts nearly the entire state of Iowa. And then this brings heavy snow again into those south central areas of Wisconsin. Chicago, for you winter weather fans, are begging for a snowstorm at this point, but you guys just continue to be just south of any kind of winter weather. But this moves through. This is going to create another day of severe weather as we move to the eastern U.S. right here. This is going to create another probably high impact day of severe weather for these sections right here in the south. I know you're just seeing a bunch of green, but this will likely be severe thunderstorms in certain areas and a tornado threat. So, I say all that to say this. Storm Prediction Center has this 15% risk highlighted right here. I think, if you live in Memphis, it seems like I say the same cities every time when it comes to severe weather. But Dallas, Shreveport, Memphis, Little Rock, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets extended a little further into Jackson. But this is, for Wednesday, this is where they're thinking the worst weather is going to be right here. And that makes sense with the trough ejection and the placement of this upper trough. Day 5, look at this. This is really weird, right? It goes all the way from Mobile, Alabama, all the way to Cleveland, Ohio. And you're thinking, why does it do that? Well, I can almost bet you there's going to be some strong winds associated on the northern end. I think that Thursday is going to be, there's probably going to be some kind of line of storms up here that is going to be intense. I would argue somewhere in this area right here could have the best overlapping dynamics, meaning your thermodynamics and your kinematics. Kinematics, remember, is that wind energy, the favorable spin to the atmosphere, that low-level jets mixing with that mid-level jet. Your thermodynamics, how high is your CAPE readings, that storm fuel, your surface temperature, surface moisture, dew points, things like that. Where do you get the best overlapping for severe weather? I would watch out in this area, but we got time to figure that out. A lot of times when you get into these short-range model guidance, a lot of times the CAPE uptrends, which is never good when you mix it with just dew points in the 60s. So, and then just a little bit of a low-level jet, it's not good. So we'll talk about the moisture really quick here. And as you're getting, into Tuesday morning, you get a small little warm sector that builds with this first system, and then this flies across, and then this just remains intact right here, just due to the fact that you have another system that comes up. And then there's a potential for a February dry line in Texas sometime Wednesday, and this would be pretty wild to see in February. We see it in March sometimes. February's kind of uncommon in this area. But, it happens, when you just have warm weather in the east and cold weather in the west. It just, but clashing of air masses, a warm sector begins to build here as we're getting into Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, all the way up into Arkansas. At the same time, you're going to have other dynamics in play that's going to mix with this low-level moisture. So dew points rising to the 60s. You know, Dallas, I think dew points will be in the 60s. It'll feel humid out there Wednesday afternoon, evening. Same thing with Little Rock, Shreveport, Memphis, as basically winds are coming out the south due to the fact that this low pressure's coming in. So this low pressure brings moisture out the Gulf of Mexico. So that's the case here. And then we're getting into Thursday morning. The air mass begins to move quick. But dew points will rise all the way into the 60s, potentially all the way up into the Ohio Valley. So this is going to be a quick moving air mass, meaning winds are screaming out the south, probably sometime Thursday, but then screaming out the west as this front moves through. This is the front where the dry air comes through and absolutely kills the severe weather threat. But ahead of this front, I'm going to be very interested Thursday to see what the storm mode looks like. It's got to be fast, but pretty wild to see what happens here Thursday. Certainly Wednesday, but we got to see who has the highest ceiling. A lot of people are thinking Wednesday, but this could change, guys. And I really think that there could be a damaging wind threat really for Thursday, but there's going to be a tornado threat for both days. But this moves through. Immediately it swooshes the atmosphere, clears it out, dry air moves through. And yeah, these aren't temperatures, this is dry air. This is dew points. But, you know, we'll see what happens with these CAPE levels here. This is the European for Wednesday. CAPE values reach above 2,000 joules per kilogram at the mixed layer. So, yeah, you mix that with a little bit of surface moisture, some of those kinematics, that low-level jet that will be in this area. I think it'll be building as we're getting into Wednesday. I don't think you'll have as favorable kinematics as you will for Thursday, but we'll see what happens here. But this is a big sector of CAPE. And then we kind of switch gears and we look for the south. And really, let's just look at the national, see what's going on. And you look at CAPE levels here for Thursday, and it'll be weird. If CAPE levels uptrend Thursday could be a bigger day. But for now, doesn't show very high levels. You know, you got some areas that might get to 1,000, but you even got CAPE up here in Ohio. So CAPE is that storm juice, that fuel that goes to these storms. And normally it's in response to dew points, rising dew points. Normally the higher your dew points, the higher your CAPE. So we'll certainly watch this. There's going to be something Thursday too. You know, don't let these lack of graphics confuse you. There definitely is going to be. Thank you. We don't need this. Please go away. All right. I am... Okay, thank you. I appreciate all that. All right, cool. Well, anyways, let's keep rolling. This is your low-level jet. And when you mix this low-level jet, the favorable wind pattern, with all these other dynamics like your thermodynamics, what you're seeing here is kinematics. So what kind of low-level jet do you have in place? Well, this is actually the Tuesday storm, but you're lacking other things to create a big weather event out of Tuesday. But this flies through. I would actually argue that the low pressure for Tuesday might be stronger than the second system. But the next system rolls through. Here it is. I'll stop here. There is a bit of a low-level jet right into here as this CAPE builds into this region. And there could be, you know, even though this low-level jet's only pushing 40 to 50 knots, low-level jet is basically the wind's about 5,000 feet above your heads. And when that's ripping, say this is coming out the south and you got a mid-level jet coming out maybe the southwest, those changing in directions with height, directional shear causes a spin in the atmosphere, and they spin some of these updrafts. When you spin the updrafts, you have a chance to get a tornado in a nutshell. There's a lot of other factors that go into it too, but you know, you're going to have kind of a 30 to 40 knot low-level jet that flies over Arkansas, but this is all you'll need because, I mean, you're going to have other players at bay. But as we're getting into Thursday, I think there's going to be a lot of strong winds regardless Thursday. This is where you watch out for Thursday, damaging wind threat. And you're still going to have a moist sector down into here, dew points into the 60s, and some little bit of CAPE. And I'm telling you, you're probably going to have a severe weather threat, a larger severe weather threat for Thursday. Maybe not as intense of one, but a larger one. So that's all I got, guys. We'll try to explain this a little bit better. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I explain the tropics and winter weather a little bit better. When it comes to severe weather, it's probably my least enjoyable thing to talk about, just because one, it seems like that it negatively affects people's lives the most, and you know, it's not something that I enjoy. I like chasing it, You know, I like going out there and chasing a good thunderstorm for sure. You know, that's part of my passion is storm chasing. But you know, it's always unfortunate because these affect people's lives the most. Yes, a hurricane affects a larger area and you have a higher chance of being affected, but it just seems like, man, these severe weather events just are coming like every 2 or 3 weeks now these days. So until we get in the summer where the jet, you know, shoots north, but we're going to try to figure this out for you guys regardless. And like I said, I'm probably going to be chasing Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and I'll be out there trying to get some information to you guys. And, you know, of course, I'll document my journey with you all like I like to do. But that's all I got, guys. We'll try to get you some better information tonight and see what it's looking like. God bless all y'all. Have a great day.